Hi guys, back again with another top 10 video, and continuing on with what I started last time was top 10 favorite episodes of some of my favorite shows. And this time it's my top 10 favorite Lost episodes. Now Lost is my favorite show of all time. Huge fan of this. Ever since it came out. I was hesitant to start watching the show when it first came out because I'm thinking like, well, I saw Gilligan's Island and it's people trapped on an island in the middle of the ocean, middle of nowhere. But then it came out on DVD, and I swear, I think I burned through that whole first season in like 3 days, maybe. I couldn't stop because it's one of those shows, sort of like Heroes, and well, there's several other ones, but basically at the end of the episode, almost every single episode ends on a cliffhanger, just like, oh, okay, I gotta see what happens next, They aren't all little one-offs like most sitcoms or some other anthology shows, like Fringe. Supernatural has done it, Fringe has done it, where they're sort of Monster of the Week episodes. They deal with this problem, this creature pops up, they deal with that, and they go on. But there is an overarching story through the whole season, and by extension the whole series. And Lost sort of has an overarching theme or story that sort of changes as the seasons go, but essentially there is one big thing that happens over the course of a season. First season, finding out everything about the island and eventually discovering the hatch. Season 2, actually going down in the hatch, finding out all about that and then meeting the others. Season 3, finding out about the others, living with the others, getting off the island. Season 4, how they get off the island. Season 5, getting back to the island, and some time travels. And Season 6, finally battling against the Man in Black and figuring everything out. But we'll get to that later. So many good episodes to choose from. Too many because they're all great. But I think I have my top 10 whittled down, at least for the moment. So starting with number 10, we have the pilot. The two-part series premiere, just called the pilot, or pilot. Season 1, Episode 1. It'd be Season 1, Episode 1, Episode 2, I suppose. But I'd have to throw this in there somewhere just because this is the episode that started it all, and it bookends with the series finale, where the very first opening shot of the show is an eyeball opening, and it's Jack's as he's laying there in the grass after the plane crash. Just like how the series closes out, where the last thing you see is Jack laying in the grass and his eye closes. But you get to meet, and aside from the differences that always occur between the pilot and the rest of the show, because the pilot's generally filmed as a test to see if they want to pick up the show. Then they come back and continue shooting the rest of the show. So if you get one of the biggest differences is the look of Sawyer, where he's got more shorter hair. I think his facial hair is a little different. And then when the show picks up, it changes a bit because they've come back and continued to shoot. And that's not the only difference, but you'd have to go back and watch it again, watch Season 1, watch Episode 1, and then watch the subsequent episodes early on in the season. But you get Jack, Kate, Sawyer, Hurley, Saeed, Jin, Sun, Locke, Charlie, the main people, Boone, Shannon. Oh man, so many. Yeah, just the plane crash and the aftermath, and I think the whole thing ends with them wondering, like, where are we? And, like, finding the pilot in the tree and the attack from the smoke monster. So good, so good. Great way to start off an amazing show. Number nine, we have Through the Looking Glass. And this is season 3, episode 22. And this is the season 3 finale. Again, stuff is going to get spoiled in here because I love the show. I've seen the show many times. And again, if you haven't seen the show, I would recommend watching it and then watching this. Or if what I say entices you into watching the show, all the better. I don't think anything to me would be ruined, really, because sometimes I get things spoiled, and by the time I get around to what I was spoiled about, I've forgotten the details, and I'm surprised all over again. But it also intrigues me enough to watch the show. And so, this is going to happen, I'd like to find out how we get to this, in my opinion. So, season 3 finale. Now, this one was the one that had the flash forward at the very end of it, where you find out, holy shit, they got off the island. How? How many people got off the island? Because they kind of pull a fast one on you, because throughout the whole episode, you have Jack, who, when he's off the island, it's made clear that he had a drinking problems with his dad. And he's got, like, scruffy beard and stuff. You just think, this is his life spiraling down before he got to the island. And he's having trouble with his wife, who you met through flashbacks. And by the end of the episode, you find out that all those flashbacks were actually flash forward to him and how his life is spiraled down after he got off the island. Because he meets up with Kate. He goes to see, he gets an obituary notice, and he's sad, and he goes to visit the body. You don't find out who it is. And he talks to someone on the phone, you don't know who, and at the end of the episode, they meet up in a dark parking lot, and it turns out to be Kate. And he's just like, we have to go back. And it's like, holy shit, they got off the island. It was the first, I'd say, one of the first holy shit moments of that series. I mean, there's great moments, season 1, season 2, especially with the hatch and stuff, but man, they were just like, holy shit, oh wow. Anyway, so that was the season 3 finale, Through the Looking Glass. Oh, and it also, at the same time, is them going down to the Looking Glass, underwater outpost. Charlie and Desmond go down there because they're trying to get their distress call out, and there's a signal that's blocking it that they find out. And Charlie he locks himself in a room, he manages to turn off the signal, but he locks himself in there because the Russian guy blows open the porthole and the water starts flooding in. So he's going to drown, but he finds out that Desmond, the love of his life, Penny, that there's a ship that's been nearby, but it's not hers, and they all thought it was hers. And the last thing he does before he drowns is he scribbles on his hand with a Sharpie and puts it up against the window and says, "Not Penny's boat." And Desmond's like, "Holy shit, it's not Penny's boat. I gotta get out of here." And Charlie unfortunately drowns. So, sorry, that's also what's going on. That's the main story while the flash forwards are going on. Sorry. Okay, so next is number 8 is Happily Ever After, and this is season 6, episode 11. And just as a heads up, the list is pretty season 5, season 6 heavy, because I thought the show just got better and better as it went on. And season 6 is my favorite season, the final season. It just is, to me. So they find out that Desmond, Charles Widmore comes back to the island, and and finds out that brings Desmond back to the island. Desmond was another one that got off. But secretly, he wasn't part of the Oceanic Six. Turns out Desmond has a very unique reaction to electromagnetism because of what you find out in... You find out... where is it? Is it season... I think it's in season 4. It's the next one. I'll get to it. You find out that Desmond has a very interesting reaction to electromagnetism. So they have a machine that Widmore wants to test on Desmond. And it sends him to another reality, sort of. It turns out that it's sending him to the sort of like the afterlife waiting room that you see throughout season 6. And he interacts with Charlie, who doesn't remember who he is, and Desmond, not the him that was on the island. It's sort of like an alternate reality, you think. And he interacts with Charlie, and Charlie seems to know what's going on and doesn't really care about his life anymore, but he wants to wake Desmond up. And he ends up doing that. Desmond is one of the first people who wakes up to this throughout season 6. Or rather, during the afterlife waiting room. And interacts with Eloise Hawking and... Oh, what's his name? Sorry. Eloise Hawkins and Charles Widmore's son. Let me see. Sorry. He played by Jeremy Davies, Daniel Faraday, and just the interactions that they have, and Desmond, what he's trying to accomplish, or what he realizes he has to accomplish by the end of the episode. It's just great because it's not the first time he did this. This is the second time that he sort of did this. First time was, again, what I'm getting to next. So I'll just get to that next. Number 7, The Constant, season 4, episode 5, is where Desmond time jumps. Now, at the end of season 3, the hatch was about to blow, and Desmond found the failsafe, which released a large electromagnetic burst which stopped it from basically blowing up the whole island and lit the sky up purple. But because Desmond was right there, it affected him, and he find out what happened to him. I can't remember which character he interacts with, but it's like, you want to know what happened to me? You want to know what happened to me? And basically the whole episode is him telling him what happened to him after he turned the key. He basically... Now, this isn't like the afterlife waiting room that he goes to during the previous pick I had, but he goes into like an alternate reality of like what could have been. He's back there with the love of his life, Penny, and he is determined to stay with her. And Eloise Hawking pops in there or something. That was never really explained. Why you don't know who she is yet, but she's in there, and she seems to know that Desmond, you're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to, or not, you're not supposed to be here, but like, you have to go to the island. You have to leave Penny. You have to go. You're not supposed to do this. You can't change what happens. And it's really interesting because it's really heartbreaking where like he wants to be with Penny, but he realizes that he has to leave her again. He has to do what he was supposed to do, what he's always done. And it's sort of like he realizes something, and he also starts to see bits of the future where this leads to all that, like, Charlie nearly dies a few times, and like Desmond seems to be in the background doing stuff, and it turns out that Charlie's going to die at the end of season 3, which I already mentioned. and Desmond keeps trying to stop it. He's like, I did this so you didn't get electrocuted. I rescued you from the water because you bashed your head on the rocks and drowned. And I did this. It's going to keep happening. He's like, Jolly, you're going to die. And sorry. And it's inevitable. So it's one thing that they both have to come to terms with. Okay, number 6, Lighthouse. This is season 6, episode 5. This is where Hurley and Jack go to the lighthouse, as Jacob's lighthouse. And ever since Hurley got off the island, although before he got off the island, for some reason he can see dead people from his past, or dead people who have died, and he starts seeing Jacob. Nobody else can see him, but he can see Jacob. And Jacob tells him that there's a secret way out of the temple that they're in season 6, where some of the others have retreated to. And there's a secret tunnel because you need to get out. You need to get Jack, and you need to get out of the temple through this secret way because nobody can see where you're going. And you have to find my lighthouse. And he has to take Jack there. And the reason he has to take Jack there is because Jacob wants Jack to realize something. He has to come to terms with some stuff about his father, his life, because they get to the lighthouse, and you turn the lighthouse to all these different degrees, and there's markings where they turn one thing, and you see through the lighthouse, you can see Jack's house and other places. And he's like, why is my house? Why can you see my house? Because Jacob was watching all of them from his lighthouse. And Mark Pellegrino, as good as he was playing the body inhabited by Lucifer in Supernatural, he's equally and even better, I think, playing the ultimate good guy on Lost as Jacob, the character Jacob, the protector of the island. And oh man, and you get to see a lot of them in season 6. You get to see a bit of them at the end of season 5, but a fair amount of him in season 6. So good, so good. Was it the beginning of season 5? And yeah, beginning of season 5 and the end of season 5, and then he's sprinkled out through season 6. So that was Lighthouse, season 6, episode 5. Now, number 5, it's called Across the Sea. And this is season 6, episode 15. And this is Jacob's origins, where you get to find out how Jacob came to be. Some lady crashes, some foreign country crashes on the shipwrecks on the island and gives birth to twins, Jacob and the Man in Black. You never find out the Man in Black's name. He's Jacob's brother, though. And they grow up, and well, first, a woman finds them, kills the mother, adopts the kids, and she raises them. She's the protector of the island at the time, actually. And the brothers grow up, but they kind of part ways. Because Jacob is a very loyal follower of his mother. And Man in Black is very curious and wants to know about the island. There's very weird things, and he doesn't want to toe the line here. He wants to go off on his own, so he leaves. Meets up with people who are on the island, and they discover very strange things. The island has very interesting electromagnetic properties, and they found a way to get off the island and harness the energy, and then Mom comes and destroys everything, kills everybody except Man in Black. And it eventually leads to Jacob and Man in Black coming to a head, and the mom has told Jacob that takes him to the light of the islands, like, you need to protect this, don't ever let the light go out. And they end up fighting, and he ends up killing his brother, the Man in Black, and tossing him into the light, and what shoots out is the smoke monster. So you actually finally find out how the smoke monster was created. It's the Man in Black. And he ends up finding his body and also killing his mom because she was kind of bad. But laying them to rest in that cave, which you saw in way back early seasons, where they thought they were the Adam and Eve of the island. But it was basically how Jacob and the Man in Black came to be. And it was great, because it's an episode all about Jacob, which the more the better. Number 4, Aeterno. Aeterno, Aeterno. That's season 6, episode 9. And this is Richard's origins. Now this I thought was even better, because you get where Richard came from, which I think it was in the Canary Islands or something. They show the name across the bottom, I think. And he basically is a prisoner on a ship which crashes on the island, crashes through that big weird statue that you end up finding out that below it is where Jacob lives. And you find out why the statue is no more. There's just like the foot basically up just below the knee, because the ship crashed through it. And this is the ship, the Black Rock, where they find all the dynamite. And basically Richard comes to meet the Man in Black, who befriends him, pretends he doesn't know how the rest of the people on the ship got killed, even though he was the smoke monster that killed him, and sends him to go kill Jacob. Well, he meets up with Jacob, and Jacob subdues him and basically talks some sense into him. And says, like, you can't believe what the Man in Black says. He's like, I need some help. People come to the island, I can't interact with them directly, but you can. I talk to you, you talk to them. They talk to you, you talk to me. He's like, and Richard's just like, I want my wife back. Jacob's like, I can't do that. He's like, okay, I never want to die. And Jacob's like, I can do that, because he needs a protector for as long as he can be on the island. So he makes Jacob like him, where they basically live as long as they possibly can on the island, barring somebody finding out how to kill them, which is what the Man in Black wants to do. And eventually does. At the end of season 5, which is to come. So, move on to number 3, is What They Died For. This is season 6, episode 16, the second last episode of the series. And this is where Jacob talks to the whole group. And he gets them all together because he gathers up his ashes, gets them from Hurley, and basically takes them to this fire and dumps the ashes in there. Says, like, you need to get your friends here, because once these ashes are gone, you won't see me ever again. So they get Jack, Kate, and Sawyer there, and Hurley, and Jacob starts talking, Hurley starts translating. He's like, dude, we can see him. Oh, okay, well, because previous, Hurley was the only one who could see him. And Jacob pretty much lays it out for all of them, saying, like, Man in Black is this. I made him this way, and one of you needs to step up and take my job, because you need to protect the island from him. If he puts the light of the island out, he's gonna get off the island and destroy everyone and everything you love. So one of you needs to step up and become the new protector. And it ends up Jack volunteering. And it's just a great fireside scene. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my goodness. It's so good. You even find out in his cave where he had all the names and the numbers on the walls, like 4, 8, 15, 16, the numbers of the show. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. And like those actually corresponded to some of the castaways' names on the walls, and they had chalk line through them. If they died, Kate had one line through it because she became a mother, which Jacob says. He's like, it's just a line of chalk through a name. Job's yours if you want it. But oh man, it's so good. So good. Number 2, The Incident. Season 5, episode 17. Now, this is the season 5 finale. And this is where Locke, you don't know that it's Locke. You don't know at the time that it's Man in Black masquerading as Locke. You think it was Locke who died, and they brought his body back on the plane, And then when the plane crashed, all of a sudden there's Locke standing in the water. And they think, oh, the island has made miracles happen before, and this one is it brought Locke back to life, you think. Turns out it was a loophole orchestrated by the Man in Black. So they bring Locke back to the island, and the Man in Black sort of steals his identity, becomes like appears in the form of Locke, but he can only do that in form of someone who's died, which they find out at the end of season 5, or rather the beginning of season 6, where they dump out the casket and his body rolls out. It's like, oh yeah, Locke's dead. Who's that then? So, but this one is they get to Jacob's cave, I guess, underneath the statue, and Jacob and Locke go in there, and Jacob's in there making some pattern on a old loom, and Jacob knows right away, well, I guess you found your loophole. And he's saying to Locke, Block, or whatever they call him, Man in Black, is just like, yes, I did. And Ben, yeah, it was Ben and Locke, and Ben doesn't know what's going on, and it turns out that Jacob's trying to say, like, I hope you know all this, you still have a choice. And Ben's like, what choice? What? You never had any time for me. Like, what was so special about him? Why? What about me? And Jacob's like, what about you? And it's a great interaction, because you get first shot of Jacob at the beginning of season 5, but you don't know that it's him until the end of the interaction with Man in Black, which is like, I'm going to kill you, Jacob. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll be right here when you need me. But you basically, Locke brought Ben there so that he could kill Jacob, because Locke couldn't do it. Man in Black as Locke couldn't do it. So we got Ben to do it. Jacob's dead, kicks him into the fire, and Jacob's like, they're coming, which it ends up being, it was the people who got off the island, Jack, Kate, Sawyer, Saeed, them, coming back to the island. That's what their coming meant. I'm fairly certain. And that's kind of how, but they're also, that was in the present. There's the time jumps time travel that happens in season 5, where they're going back in time, skipping through time until they fix the wheel. And a lot of them get trapped back in the 70s, and they have to find their way back to the present, and they're going to do that by detonating a bomb in the hatch, which ended up getting blown up. Now, it ended up getting blown up because it always got blown up. They say in season 6, whatever happened, happened. This has already happened. So they have to make it happen. And what happens is Julia gets trapped down there, falls down there, and she ends up being the one who set off the bomb. And that catapults them forward to present day. So it was them coming back to the present. And yeah, and it was just so great. It was great because of the relationship between Sawyer and Julia. That I almost had LaFleur, the episode LaFleur from season 5 in there, because they get trapped in the 70s, and they are together for like 3 or 4 years, 2 or 3 years, I think, maybe, and they become a couple after like Sawyer loving Kate, and Julia having kind of the hots for Jack. Sawyer and Julia get together. Yeah, so they have a very sad interaction between the end of season 5 and the beginning of season 6. Alright, so, number 1. Had to be this one. It's the end. Season 6, episode 17, the series finale. Now, I know what happens. I know what's going on. The writers have said what's going on. The show itself said what's going on. I don't understand the confusion. They weren't dead the whole time. What happened on the island happened on the island. What it is that, and I've explained this several times, it makes perfect sense to me and to a lot of people. Someone dies, say back in the 70s. They go up to this afterlife waiting room that I mentioned. Someone dies in the 90s, they go up here. Someone dies in 2000, they go up here. Someone dies 50 years from now. They end up here. And they're all waiting around in this afterlife waiting room. And these are the flash, what you thought were the flash sideways in season 6. Where you thought it was an alternate reality where the plane didn't crash and everything was fine. Everyone is still everyone, but they're in different lives. Sort of like they had amnesia and then they got refreshed on who they were, but they don't remember anything about the island. And what it is was they died at some point in time, and they all ended up here, where time really doesn't mean much. And until they all ended up interacting with each other and remembering. And this happens throughout season 6, but the bulk of it happens in this episode, the finale, where you get Charlie kind of remembers the rest of it when he sees Claire. Claire remembers who she was. Kate remembers who she was by doing the things that they did on the island. Like Kate delivers Claire's baby and remembers that she delivered Claire's baby on the island. Kate kisses Jack and he remembers kissing her, but he still doesn't understand. Charlie sees Claire, he remembers. Hurley drives Saeed up to this guy getting beaten up outside a bar. Saeed goes to break it up. Guy comes over who's getting beaten up, turns out it's Boone. Saeed saves the girl, and it's Shannon. And they remember who they are, who they were. And so they all remember who they were. And like Jack's dad even says, when Jack finally realizes what was going on, it's like, the most important time you spent in your life was with these people on the island. That happened. And so now you're all together, you all realize everything, and now you're going on to the afterlife. And the only person who doesn't really is Ben. And Ben's aware of what's going on, but he doesn't think he's ready to go yet. He still has some things to come to terms with, which he says. And like I said, this one bookends with Jack dying, but Jack laying in the grass like he did in the very opening shot, but it closes. Oh, it gets me every time. And the music in this episode, the music that goes throughout the last, I guess, 10-15 minutes of the episode is just amazing. Michael Giacchino just did a bang-up job throughout the whole show, but especially this episode. Oh yeah, it's my favorite show for a good reason. It's amazing, and oh my goodness, so good, so good. Highly recommend it if you haven't watched it. Highly recommend watching it again if you've seen it once, because I've been through it like 3 or 4 times at least. So I'm not sure which one I might do next, or if I go back to movies. No, I think I might do Buffy or Angel or Burn Notice maybe. If you have a comment, leave one, please. I don't care. It's all good. It can only help me. All right, thanks for watching. Toodles.